When it comes to properly pricing your products, there are 3 objectives you're trying to accomplish. Number 1, covering the costs of creating the product and being in business. Number 2, compensating the labor involved in creating the product and being in business. You need to pay the employee doing all the work, otherwise they'll quit. Hint, that's you. Number 3, keeping money in the business so that you can grow it. We need to make sure that the way we're calculating our prices is achieving those 3 objectives. Right now, I'm going to give you an overview of how a price is built, each of the layers that makes up the price that you would charge a customer for a product. And then we'll break it down into the individual building block components that makes up each of those layers. We're going to start by getting a bird's eye view of it, the roadmap. You've got this chart that you can download, and I want you to fill it out as we go along and name each of these pieces. In the next folder of lessons is where we're going to break down each of the building blocks for each of those layers, and I will show you how to determine the value and cost of each of those layers. We're going to pace ourselves on this and take it slow and simple. If you're following along with this course on your own, I want you to set an easy, manageable goal for completing the lessons once we get to the actual calculation part in the next folder. Take it only 1 or 2 lessons a day, completing the work in between. That way you don't overwhelm yourself and drain your brain all in one day. Alright, starting off with the simple bird's eye view, taking a look at the 4 layers of price, and then we'll break down each of those individual layers. These are the 4 layers that make up a price: base price, custom design cost, delivery, fees, and taxes. When I go to cost out an order for a customer, I think in these layers, and I use this chart to guide my process. Let's look at the base price. First at the top, this row is the base price. A base price is the cost for the minimum version of the product. When you make a 6-inch cake, no matter what design you make, there are parts of that creation process that will always be the same and carry over. You will always mix the same batter, bake it for the same amount of time. So we can calculate those parts that cross over beforehand. This is where the hefty part of the pricing work is. But once you do it, it's done. And you'll have that as your starting point every time a client comes to you for an order quote. More than half the work will be done because you've calculated your base pricing. Base prices are also super useful in communicating a price estimate to customers before they even speak to you. You can post them on your website, your Instagram, and have them available for customers to see. Is that a good idea to post your pricing? Absolutely. Clarity is everything for a customer, and you will lose more customers by not posting it than you will if you do post it. We're going to dive into that more later in the strategy and implementation section of this course, but for now, take my word, post your base pricing. So I start by picking the pre-calculated base price that matches the order size that the customer wants. The next layer in price is custom design. So when someone comes and they don't just want a plain white cake, maybe they want a palette knife painted floral cake or a 3D carved sculpted cake, this is where I calculate the custom portion of their order and where I put that number. The next layer of your price to consider is the delivery cost, if applicable. Just like base prices, your delivering pricing scheme can be calculated in advance so that you already have all that work done and under your belt when a customer comes to order. It's pretty common for us to start out not charging for delivery, and if we do charge, it's pretty minimal. I know I did, until I had an unfortunate experience where I drove 25 minutes to deliver a cake to a customer who happened to be a relative. So I had dropped my guard, dropped my normal dialogue, and I didn't specify certain details with her, like the delivery location. She didn't say anything about it, so I just assumed it would be at her house. When I got there, no one was there. Turns out the party wasn't at her house, but at a church 45 minutes away from her house in the opposite direction that I had just come. So I had to drive the cake all that way, and what should have been just about a 50-minute delivery became an hour, 45-minute plus delivery. And from then on out, I never deliver for free. I would urge you to skip the sticky part of the learning curve. Take the wisdom from my experience and apply it to your own business and charge for delivery. The final layer of price is fees and taxes. This is probably one of the most overlooked layers of pricing, the fees and taxes associated with a monetary transaction. No matter what money transaction method you use, with the exception of cash, you will have some sort of fee associated with transferring money from one person to another. Fees can typically be around 3 to 4% of the transaction amount. Sometimes it's more, and it can vary from platform to platform. For example, if you sell a cake for $60 and someone is going to send you $60 via PayPal, then the 3.5 transaction fee is $2.10, and that comes out of the money the person is paying you. So you don't get $60, you get $57.90. Doesn't seem like a big deal, right? But what if you sell 12 of those cakes a month, 12 months of the year? That means you lost out on $302.40. Instead of losing out, you can wrap the processing fees into your price so that they're covered by your customer. After you account for the processing fee, you'll add on sales tax at the end. Now, I'm not here to lecture you on the morality of paying taxes. All I know is that for me, as a registered business, I'm accountable to pay my sales tax. And even if I wasn't a registered business, I greatly enjoy the confidence and peace of mind that comes from covering my legal bases. And it feels pretty great at the end of the year when I go to pay my sales tax, and I've already got it sitting in my account collected throughout the year. Paying it is easy peasy. Sales tax depends on your state and even down to your city, so you'll need to find out the rate in your area and charge the correct percentage accordingly. Then you take all 4 of these layers and you add it all up. Pretty easy, but now we need to know how to calculate each individual layer, and each one has specific building blocks that help you to determine its cost. Now let's move in closer on each layer and take a look at the building blocks of each of these layers. Let's start at the top with base price. These are the 5 building blocks of a base price. Ingredient cost, that is everything edible that goes into your recipe. Supplies cost, this is the non-edible components of the order. And I break this down even further into direct and indirect supplies. Direct supplies are anything that will go out the door with the customer. The box, the dowels, in the cake board, the label, etc. Indirect supplies are sneaky and often overlooked. They're involved in the creation process and are definitely expenses that need to be accounted for, but they get overlooked very easy. Parchment paper, plastic wrap, toothpicks, dish soap, paper towels, piping bags, even down to estimating the utility cost for running your oven. These are all indirect supplies of creating your products and need to be accounted for. So supplies, direct and indirect. Overhead. These are the fixed costs of being in business that you will have to pay no matter how much you sell. A lot of home bakers tend to not have any overhead expenses at the beginning, but eventually incur at least 1 or 2. Some examples include a business licensing yearly fee, insurance, a website fee, running a business-only fridge, marketing or subscription tools. With each of these expenses, whether you sell 10 cakes or 0 in a month, you'll still have to pay these. Whether I sell 10 cakes or 0 in a month, I still have to pay my subscription for QuickBooks. I still have to pay my business insurance. So we need to allocate a part of this cost into each order so it can be covered and accounted for in the price. These first 3 building blocks make up the minimum you would need to charge on a basic order just to break even, just to cover costs. If you add those up and charge only that, then you're only making what you spent and the net income is 0. The next 2 building blocks are essential to actually making money as a baker in business. Labor. This is the compensation for the amount of time and energy that will be spent on the order. Basically, it's your paycheck, the money that will actually end up in your pocket from completing this work. Ready to meet the most overlooked building block of pricing, of which neglecting is killing your business without you even knowing it? My baker friend, meet profit. This is a percentage of the cost that will stay in your business to help it grow. It's the single most overlooked and unrealized part of a price. Most people calculate the labor cost and they stop there. But what happens? They pocket all of the money made on an order, and then there's nothing left to grow, to reach your goals, and to improve your business. Adding a percent markup to your price allows you to keep money in your business. And this money isn't to buy your butter, sugar, flour, or to pay your overhead costs. Those are already covered by the other building blocks, ingredients, and supplies. This is the fun money. This is the money that allows you to buy a new KitchenAid, to take a sugar flour class, to invest in a food photography course. This is where you get to grow your business. I love profit so much. So those are the 5 building blocks of your base price. This is the meat of your price. You calculate it once and then it's done. And it gives you a head start on giving price quotes to customers. And that's what we're going to do in the next folder of lessons. Let's jump down to the second layer of pricing and look at those building blocks. Well, it actually takes a few of the same building blocks that base price did. Ingredient cost. You estimate the cost of the extra ingredients involved in doing the custom work. Maybe it's gel color for coloring buttercream, or designer sprinkles from Sprinkle Pop, or gold leaf to put on a cake. Account for those extra costs. Then, supplies costs. A cake topper, extra piping bags used for all those colors, custom cookie cutters, or whatever you might need to order. You'll want to brainstorm all those extra supplies costs for the custom work and account for them in your price. Then there's the labor cost. Estimate the extra labor involved in creating the custom work. This can sometimes be tricky if it's a design you've never done and you're not completely sure how much time it will take. We'll discuss this more when we dive deeper into calculating labor costs in the next folder of lessons. But for now, just know as a rule of thumb, a great way to calculate the labor cost is to break down the process step by step and estimate the time involved in each individual step. You're more likely to overestimate it if you think about the time for the process as a whole, and you'll get a much better estimate if you break it down step by step. And I always advise to err on the side of overestimation rather than underestimation. Then there's profit. Use the same percentage to mark up this portion of the order so that some of the revenue from the custom portion of the order can stay in your business as profit. Let's jump down to the layer of delivery and look at the building blocks that make that up. There's supplies cost. This is basically the gas cost, the supplies required to complete this part of the project. It's a best estimate that depends on the mileage of your car, the distance of the delivery, which we'll dive into in the next folder of lessons. Then there's labor. The time it takes to make that delivery should absolutely be compensated. It's an opportunity cost. If you didn't have to deliver someone's order 1 hour away, which is another hour back, you could have taken on another order. So charge for that time involved in the delivery. Then profit. Your business should be making money here too. After all, it's sending its one and only employee out. A small percentage markup is added to account for business profit when it comes to delivery. And then this last layer, taxes and fees. It's pretty straightforward, and we've already touched on it a little bit. You take the subtotal up to this point, and you estimate the processing fee. And then you use your local sales tax percentage to calculate the sales tax. This lesson alone should have given you some pretty amazing insights and aha moments about how to build your price. But now let's get into the nitty-gritty and actually do the work. And I will walk you through how to calculate each of these building blocks.